All right, everybody, welcome to part 2 of Yahweh is Not Loving. As we were doing in the last video, we're going to continue with looking at 1 Corinthians 13 and its definition of love and seeing how Yahweh does not match up at all with any of the points made in that definition. The next one we'll look at is where Paul says, love takes no pleasure in evil, or does not cause any harm. Only makes sense, right? Love would not be about anything that even remotely hints at something that would bring harm to others, something that would cause evil. Well, unless, when you love someone and you see their life threatened, and you attack that person and beat the living daylights out of them and or kill them if that person is trying to kill the one you love, that's how true love would operate. Yes, love would cause harm, but that would not be evil. But when you cause harm that is evil, bringing harm upon someone who does not deserve it, who didn't ask for it, that is evil. And so that's the kind of harm we're talking about here. That's the kind of harm that Paul is talking about. Love does not take pleasure in inflicting harm or evil against, innocent people. But that doesn't describe Mr. Yahweh. We've previously seen many examples of Yahweh causing harm, and we'll be looking at many more examples on this channel. But for now, just look at this sick statement that Yahweh made, which I've cited, in previous videos. But here it is again, Proverbs 1, verses 26 to 28. Yahweh says, I will mock your calamity. He's talking here to Israel during a period where they were rebellious, worshiping other gods. The people he gave freedom of choice to. Yeah, again, there's your freedom of choice. If you don't want to worship me, you don't have to, but I'm gonna kick your fanny in if you don't. I will mock your calamity. Right off the bat now, we've got a problem, right? This is a psycho. He is obviously taking pleasure in evil and is into inflicting harm. I will mock your calamity. I will sneer when terror strikes you, when your dread comes like a storm and your destruction like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish overwhelm you. Then they will call on me, but I will not answer. They will earnestly seek me, but will not find me. Earnestly seek me, but they won't find me. I will not answer. I will not respond. I will not come to their rescue. Yahweh here is clearly not expressing love now, is he? Again, this is the antithesis of love. It doesn't even matter what the Israelites were supposed to be guilty of here, does it? They could have committed the most vile evil, and yet, if Yahweh is supposed to be the epitome of love, when they called upon him earnestly and were seeking him, for him to say, I will not answer. I will instead mock your calamity. He has to be an absolute psychopathic wretch. Yahweh is the embodiment of hatred, vengeance, retribution, anger, despotism, immorality. Love takes no pleasure in evil, but Yahweh does. Love does not cause harm, but Yahweh does. You can call out to him earnestly, he says, but I will not answer you. I don't care that you're doing it with sincerity at that point. I'm ticked off with you. Me, the guy who's slow to anger and filled with justice and mercy and compassion. Get out of town. You got nothing to offer, Bible dupes. You've been waving that book, boasting that it's the answer to man's problems, and that if you don't follow it, you're going to be lost. The book has nothing to offer. Your God is a loser. Your religion is a loser religion. And your holy book is a loser book. Toss it out. Actually, don't toss it out. Hold on to it so you can use it to expose it for the fraud that it is to others. But toss it out as a guidebook, yes. Paul goes on to say, love rejoices in the truth. Yet, Yahweh is said to send lying spirits. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, he says that he will send the wicked strong delusion in the last days. So, does that sound to you like Yahweh rejoices in the truth? Nope, he fails that part of the love definition too. Love bears all things, endures all things, or perseveres, says Paul. Yet, by Yahweh's own testimony, he does not endure. Psalm 101 verse 5, for example, says, whosoever slanders his neighbor in secret, I, Yahweh, will put to silence. The one with haughty eyes and a proud heart, I will not endure. I will not persevere with such an individual. And yet, Paul says, love endures all things. Love perseveres all things. There's quite a few things, according to Yahweh's own personal testimony, that he doesn't endure with at all. At all. So Yahweh fails this part of the love identification as well. Genesis 6 verse 3. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not put up with humans for such a long time. Or as the King James Version puts it, my spirit will not always strive with man. In other words, my patience is running out, and I'm going to destroy everybody. Mr. Yahweh, who supposedly knows the future, knew that the human race was going to rebel and that he was going to have to send a flood. If he knew all this in advance, don't you think he would have done something to prevent having to resort to such drastic measures? Didn't he know that future generations, as they matured and became morally astute, were going to realize that that's the way a tyrant operates, and thus he would be careful to prevent something like that from happening? But did Yahweh learn a lesson from his mistake? Did he realize, oops, I shouldn't have destroyed everybody because it didn't accomplish anything? No sooner was the earth almost completely wiped out in a flood, and the next thing you know, the next generation is right back to doing the same thing again, right? Over and over again, we see Yahweh throwing temper tantrums, sending fire down from heaven, devouring this, devouring that, telling the Israelites to go into this, that, and the other city, kill everything that breathes, and yet the problem was never alleviated. Yahweh has some bad anger management skills, doesn't he? He has bad problem-solving skills in general. He's always concerned about the sin problem. And yet, he's the chiefest of sinners himself. He can't even solve his own sin problem. So no wonder he can't solve the human sin problem. Sin, quote unquote. But, you know, he can't fix his own wrongdoings. No wonder he can't solve human wrongdoings, when every time he uses the same tactic and it never works. You know what you call someone like that? Aside from being a tyrannical monstrosity, you call him a loser. A loser. If that thing were real, he would have to be a reject of his society. He would have to be one that was banished from the other gods and pushed off into some distant corner of the cosmos, you know. And he's probably locked up in this asylum, and that's why outer space is black. He's locked in this box. He's a madman, folks. He's a madman. So if you want to insist he exists, well, no wonder our world is so screwed up. We live in a giant insane asylum run by people that are totally in league with him because they're psychos too, just like he is, the people that run this world. And they are psychos, in case you haven't noticed. But anyway, moving on here. Ezekiel 7:22. I, Yahweh, will turn my eyes from them, the Israelites, as these robbers invade and defile my treasured land. I'm gonna turn my eyes from the invaders and let them loot and rob and kill. I don't care. I've had it with you. Love bears all things, endures all things. Is Yahweh enduring all things here with his love? Is his love persevering here? No. I've had it with you. I'm going to stand back and let your enemies come in and pillage you. Yahweh fails this part of the love test too, doesn't he? Again and again. Jeremiah 13:14 says, I, Yahweh, will smash them, the Israelites, one against the other, parents and children alike, declares the Lord. Parents and children alike. Regardless how you want to twist Yahweh throwing a temper tantrum against the Israelites and his love not persevering, you try to gloss that over and make it look like, well, he did persevere, but they pushed him over the edge. Yeah, okay, whatever. Explain him taking vengeance on their children. As a matter of fact, don't even bother trying to explain it, because I don't give a damn what the hell you come up with to try to explain that. You cannot do it. There's no explaining it. There's no justifying it. So just shut up. Close your hole. I don't care what comes out of it. It's BS, just like this passage I just read. There's no justifying Mr. Yahweh taking his vengeance out on the children because the parents were ticking him off. Children who, even if they were engaging in the same thing the parents were doing, they're not at the age of accountability. They're just like parrots mimicking what the parents are doing. They don't know better. And yet here's Mr. Yahweh taking his vengeance out on them. Hey, Yahweh! Screw you, buddy. Screw you. He goes on to say, I will allow no pity or mercy or compassion to keep me from destroying them. Ooh, 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 ooh. Did you catch that, my dearly deluded Bible dupe friends? Did you catch that? Did you catch that? By the way, I shouldn't call you friends. Not that I couldn't be friends with you, but it's you that can't be friends with me. Because when I expose your demon God for the wretch that he is, you would call me of the devil and condemn me and say I'm going to hell, when in fact your God is the devil who dwells in hell. How does that grab you? You're still going to pawn him off as the God of mercy, compassion, and love, when he just said, and I don't care what the conditions were, I don't care what the Israelites did that ticked him off, it doesn't matter. If he's the embodiment of love, as Paul said, love endures all things, right? A truly loving parent, even if his kid was arrested for mass murder, okay? A truly loving parent is going to weep and sob and moan and be in absolute abject misery, probably for the rest of his or her life. But are they going to stop loving their kid? Some parents don't, no doubt, and I can't judge them. I'm not sure how I would act if one of my kids turned out to be a mass murderer. But I'm human, right? I'm fallible. I'm incapable of perfect love. I might be so disgusted with them that I will never visit them in prison. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe after 5 or 10 years, I might go visit them. I'll still be disgusted with them, but I'll tell them, I've forgiven them. And if there is a God out there, a real God, or not God, but a creator. I hate that word God because of all that comes attached with. If there is a creator and we have to stand before him one day, I hope he can forgive you too. And I hope you realize what you've done is wrong and you're remorseful for it. I hope that I would be able to do that. But forget me or any other human. We're all imperfect, right? If we're talking about what's supposed to be a perfect God who has perfect love, that God would endure all things and would be forgiving, regardless what his beloved children did wrong. If they came to him begging for forgiveness, love endures all things, according to Paul. True love, Yahweh is supposed to be true love, the embodiment of true love. He would be forgiving, right? But no, Yahweh says here, I will allow no pity or mercy or compassion to keep me from destroying them. And yet, how many times does the Bible say, the Lord, abounding in mercy and compassion and love, blah, 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 blah. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore I have drawn you with loving kindness. This is the same schizo who said, I will allow no pity, mercy, or compassion to keep me from destroying you. Maybe we should feel bad for Mr. Yahweh if in fact he is schizophrenic. Nah, screw him. I don't feel bad for him. Seriously though, guys, that's the best you can say about him. He's a schizo and thus belongs behind bars. Personally, I think he should be roasted over an open fire slowly. But nevertheless, at least lock the SOB up. He's dangerous. And we know he is because we've seen him throw his little temper tantrums, right? Fire and brimstone! The earth opens up and swallows a whole group of people because they ticked him off, over and over and over and over and over. And if he's not doing the killing, he's telling others to do his killing for him, right? Telling the Israelites, kill everything that breathes, including young suckling infants. Kill them all! Indiscriminately. He even says, old people, elderly people, kill them too. No mercy on anyone. Young women, maidens. Sometimes, don't kill the maidens this time. I want to sit back and watch you rape them. Leave the virgins alone, but kill all the women who have slept with a man. Remember those passages? Bible's loaded with them. Yes, Bible dupes, your God is just so loving, isn't he? The only way you can continue to call your God loving, Bible dupes, is if you reinvent the meaning of the word love so that it means the very opposite of what Paul defines it as in 1 Corinthians 13. Not only did Yahweh admit that he does not endure with his love, but he frequently talked about how he would hide himself from his own alleged favorite people, the Israelites, right? Deuteronomy 31, 17 and 18, for example. He says, then my anger will be kindled against them, again, the Israelites, in that day, and I will forsake them and hide my face from them, and they will be consumed, and many evils and troubles will come upon them. They'll be consumed, and many evils and troubles will come upon them. Remember, Paul also said love does not take pleasure in evil, right? Or in doing harm. Oh, Yahweh here is talking about great pleasure he's going to have unleashing his wrath upon them. Listen to this. Again, this is how a psychopath talks. This is not how a loving person talks. Bible dupes, you claim your God is love. Where's the love here? How does this fall under the banner of love? Do you understand that either your God isn't loving, or else you have a very twisted understanding of what love actually is? You're not even identifying love the way Paul does in 1 Corinthians 13. Do you see how bereft you are of a sound mind because of what this book has done to you? And yet Paul says, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Yahweh doesn't have a sound mind himself. How could he give that to anyone else? Yahweh doesn't have love. So how could he give that to someone else? Yahweh, though, according to the Bible, does have power, doesn't he? And that's all he's about. It's a big power trip. That's all he's about. I have created you for my glory. What a self-indulgent wretch. And this is the guy that multiplied millions of people, just in this country alone, billions around the world, look up to, reverence, respect, worship. and seek to emulate. Well, again, if you've listened this far to this video and heard what a wretch this monster is, if you still want to walk the Yahweh path, if you still want to emulate him, once again, let me invite you to stay the hell as far away from me as you can get. Don't ever come near me, ever. I want nothing to do with psychos like you. You belong behind frickin' bars. You're a danger to your own self, let alone the rest of society. How in the world can anybody endorse this garbage when they take a look at it? Look at it! Stop reading your Bible selectively, cherry-picking the passages you like. The game's over. The gig is up. Anyway, the passage goes on to say, or Yahweh goes on to say in this passage, they will say in that day, when Yahweh unleashes his wrath upon the Israelites, is it not because of the fact that our God is not among us that these evils have come upon us? But I will surely hide my face in that day because of all the evil which they will do, for they will turn to other gods. That's the evil. Most of the time, almost without exception, when Yahweh throws a temper tantrum at the Israelites, it's simply because they turn to other gods. Again, it's all about him. It's not about the, actual evil things that they have done to other people. He doesn't care. He told them to do other evil things to other people, right? Kill everything that breathes, including young suckling infants. That didn't arouse his ire. That didn't get him to want to punish them for going and mass murdering other people. No, he was all for it. He told them to do it. That's not what was evil. What was evil is, you dare not give me glory. You gave glory to other gods, which he admits don't exist, right? He says the other gods are fake, they don't exist, and yet he claims he's jealous of them when he admits they don't even exist in the first place. How the hell could you be jealous? Would you be jealous, listener, whether you're a man or a woman, would you be jealous if your partner, your husband or your wife, was cheating on you with their imaginary friend? Think about it. Really? Would that make you jealous? Would you freak out finding out that, behind your back, your wife or your husband was up in the bedroom thinking about an imaginary lover, someone that doesn't even exist? I could understand if you were jealous about them looking at porn, lusting after someone that did exist. But no, someone that didn't exist, some imaginary friend. Would that make you jealous? It would make you sad, and you'd want to get help for your partner, right? Take him to a good psych and get some serious mental conditioning going on there. But would that make you jealous? How could you be jealous of a fictional, non-existent character? And yet that's Yahweh. Yahweh got enraged with the Israelites for cheating on him with non-existent imaginary friends. You gotta love it. To him, that was the ultimate evil. That warranted him taking temper tantrums out on them. And yet, again, when they did things that really were bad, hey, no problem there. In fact, I'm glad you did it. I wanted you to do it. I told you to do it. We find him getting mad, too, though, on occasions when they went on the killing sprees but didn't kill everyone. Oh, he got infuriated with Moses at one point because, he let a king live in one of the cities that he told him to attack. I told you to kill everybody! Unfreaking believable, man. And these horrific accounts can be found on every single page of the Bible. Both sides of every page. I'm not exaggerating. Pick any page of the Bible you want at random, and you're going to find intolerable crap thereon. And if after reading 3 or 4 verses you don't find anything, keep reading, you will. You'll run into it right there on that page, on that side of that page. Unless we're talking about the begat chapters. No, you won't find anything evil there. What you will find, though, is something that will put you into a freaking coma. It's so unbelievably, senselessly boring. And did you ever look into those begat chapters? It just goes on and on. Jehozabad begat Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat began Jeluzabab, and it just goes on and on and on. And it means nothing because there are parallel accounts of those genealogies, and they conflict with each other. Jesus' genealogy in the book of Matthew, totally conflicts with the biblical, the Old Testament version, right? Totally conflicts. There's added names that don't belong there. There's names missing that do belong. It's mind-blowing. What the hell is that in there for? It doesn't even accomplish anything. It serves no purpose. Again, except to put you to sleep. So even on the occasion, the rare occasion, when you don't find Yahweh throwing a temper tantrum and engaging in all kinds of evil acts or commanding others to engage in evil acts, you find senseless, needless, boring, purposeless crap like that. Oh, but yet, it's the infallible word of God, isn't it? It doesn't coincide with the historical record. It's not even consistent with its own record, but it's the infallible word of God. You people have no clue what you're talking about, Bible dupes. You have no idea. You don't even know what your book teaches. You think you do because, again, you only focus on those few passages that you like. Read the whole damn thing, will ya? Micah 3 verse 4. Then they, the Israelites, will cry out to the Lord, but he will not answer them. Instead, he will hide his face from them at that time, because they have practiced evil deeds. And again, what are the evil deeds? Almost always, without exception, idolatry. He didn't care about other deeds. There is one passage where Yahweh got mad with David and said, "You have shed innocent blood." But what a joke that is, because Yahweh actually commanded David on many other occasions to shed innocent blood. He commanded the Israelites over and over again, through Moses, through Joshua, et al., to kill everything that breathes, including young suckling infants. And yet he gets mad on one occasion with David for shedding innocent blood, and Bible dupes will leap on that and say, "See, God isn't about shedding innocent blood. He condemned David here for doing it." Oh, once again, you love that cherry picking, don't you? You love that cherry picking. How convenient that is when you ignore mounds and mounds of other passages that show that Yahweh got his rocks off on the death of innocent little children and ripping up the wombs of pregnant women. Yeah, Yahweh isn't for the death, the mass death of innocent little children. Right. Ezekiel 39:23. I, Yahweh, hid my face from them, the Israelites. So I gave them into the hands of their adversaries, and all of them fell by the sword. Oh, you could just imagine Yahweh up there with his buddies, Jesus to his right side and Gabriel to his left as they're munching on their popcorn. Ha ha! Take that, Israel! That'll teach you to worship those false non-existent gods again. Ha ha! Oh, look at that! Jab him with that sword! Yeah! There's one behind you! Get him! Oh, great! Wow! This is entertainment, baby! I gave them into the hands of their adversaries, and all of them fell by the sword. This channel isn't just about attacking Christians for their false religion. That's the dominant religion in this country. So that's the one I focused on. And it's the one that cursed me for 40 plus years of my life. But, these same criticisms, of course, apply to Islam and Judaism, naturally. I marvel. How could any Jewish person who is truly concerned about what is right and is against what is wrong, how can you worship this God? I don't care that it's your national heritage, it's your genetic, you're genetically connected with this group of people, if in fact you're a real Hebrew. There's a lot of Jews out there that aren't even Hebrews, that have no genetic connection whatsoever. Well, they do to some degree, but not direct, not a full connection. I'm talking about the Hebrew Jews now, the original Middle Eastern Hebrew Jews. I don't care that it's your genetic connection to your ancestors. Why, pray tell? How, pray tell, could you honor and reverence and respect a God like this, who treated your own ancestors like crap? Never mind that he told the Israelites to go into foreign nations and kill everything that breathes. This God killed your ancestors too. And he told Moses, go out into the camp, and or he told Moses to tell the Levites, after Moses came down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments and saw that they were worshiping the golden calf. He told Moses to tell the Levites to take their swords and go in and out of the camp, all through the camp, and Kill everyone, including your friends, brothers, and neighbors. Kill them all. And then it goes on to say, 3,000 people died that day. And Moses said, because you have done this, the Lord will now pour you out a great blessing. You have obeyed him, even though it meant killing your own brothers, friends, and neighbors. How can you worship a God like that, Jews out there, if you are in fact a decent person, endowed with moral standards? Can't you see that your own God is not on your side? That he has murdered and caused others to murder your own ancestors? I'm not just condemning Christianity here, folks. All three of these religions that grew out of this book are an abomination, man. Don't tell me you're a moral person if you embrace this book and this God. You're not. I don't care how you try to twist it and justify it in your twisted mind. You are dead wrong. You're on the wrong side. You got the wrong God, the wrong book, the wrong religion. Give it up, or else you're a part of this problem. Isaiah 54, verse 8. In an outburst of anger, I hid my face from you for a moment. For a moment? Yeah. Well, apparently it only takes him a moment to wipe out a whole city. So for him to say only a moment, it's not very comforting, is it? In an outburst of anger. Remember how, we read a passage a couple of videos ago where it says that Yahweh is slow to anger, right? David says that. Yahweh is slow to anger. And yet here it says, in an outburst of anger. Yeah. Oh, he's slow to anger, all right. Truth is, though, Yahweh shouldn't be angry at all, ever, right? Paul says that anger is a work of the flesh. He says that it's going to keep people out of the kingdom. So it's a sinful thing, right? And yet Yahweh gets angry all the time, we're told. He gets steaming mad. Smoke and fire coming out of his nostrils. I'm not making that up either. The Bible actually says that. We'll be getting into that some more in a future video. I talked about it a while back in a previous video, but we'll get into that more very soon, actually. In fact, after this series, the very next video after this series, I think I'm going to do one more video on this topic of the great loving Yahweh. It might take 2 more videos, come to think of it. But anyway, after this series, I'll be getting into that. Yahweh is a fire-breathing dragon. Oh, yes, amongst other things. Anyway, as it turns out, Yahweh's own spokespeople in the Bible have admitted on occasion that Yahweh does not endure with his love. Hosea 5 verse 6 says, they will go with their flocks and herds to seek the Lord, but they will not find him. He has withdrawn from them. So here's Hosea recognizing that, this God is delinquent here. This delinquent dad has abandoned us. It doesn't matter what Israel did, right? I don't care. I don't care what Bible believers claim or what passages they can conjure up to show that Israel was being naughty. I don't care. They could have been guilty of every known crime to man. But if Yahweh is truly the embodiment of love and they cried out to him, he's not going to say, I have prevented mercy and justice, mercy and love and compassion from coming your way. Nothing will stop me from unleashing destruction upon you. Remember one of the previous verses we just read. That would not be possible for that God to say that or act that way if he was truly loving, like Paul says, right? Love endures. Yeah, Yahweh's love endures, all right. It endures with destruction and inflicting misery and torture. That's what it endures with. And it's not love, baby. Unless you want to say love as an acronym for livid, obnoxious, violent expenditures. Anyway, I just made that one up. Maybe you can come up with a better one, but it's not love, baby. Not the 1 Corinthians 13 love. Isaiah 45 verse 15 says, truly, you are a God who hides himself, O God of Israel. Isaiah here recognized, truly, you are a God who hides himself. We've been calling out to you, crying, begging, and pleading day and night, and you sit back on your little fat fanny and do nothing. How many Christians say that today? I had said it many times as a believer. There were times where I got discouraged. I remember one time I shook my fist up in the air. Why did you let this happen? Where are you when I need you? And back when I was a a pastor, a student and lay pastor, I had many people coming to me, calling me sometimes in the middle of the night. I'd get phone calls. They'd be in tears, crying like babies, over this same issue. Where is God? How come I beg and plead? And here I am trying to encourage them, Little did I know that I was just feeding them pablum, giving them false hopes, thinking I was filling them with hope. Oh, just wait on the Lord. I would cite passages like that, wait on the Lord. Yeah. Wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. He died. Well, he's still waiting. Someday in heaven, the Lord will answer his prayer. That's the ultimate answer you'll get. When you beg and plead, that your cancer tumor will be healed, and then you die, the people will say, well, he's in a better place now. In a way, God did answer his prayer. He's healed now. It's especially disgusting when you see people like that who are on death row with some deadly disease. They're earnestly pouring their heart out and clinging to passages like in the book of James, where James says, if anyone is sick among you, let the elders gather around him and anoint him with oil and pray over him, and the Lord will raise him up. Do you know how many times that pattern has been followed and nothing happened? I had a friend that I watched die slowly from a brain tumor years ago, back in 2002. He struggled with it for 3 years from the time he was first diagnosed. Prayed and prayed and prayed. Oh yeah, we went through that routine, the oil and the elders gathered around. We prayed and prayed, believing that lie in the book of James that God was going to raise him up. That's not an if, a maybe, a perhaps. There's no conditions attached, no disclaimer statements that, well, God might not, depending on whether or not, blah, 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 blah. Nothing. It is a promise. It is a guarantee when you read that slop. Pray over him, anointing him with oil with the elders, and the Lord will raise him up. Well, the Lord didn't raise him up. He died. That book is so disgusting. You can point this out to people. They can even have experiences like that themselves with loved ones that they watched die, even though they prayed over them as the way the Bible prescribes. And they'll still continue to believe. What the hell are you believing in, and on what basis? You've got a God who lies to you constantly. Jesus said, whatsoever you ask, I will do it, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. Ask anything in my name, and I will do it. Jesus was a liar. How does that grab you? Of course he was. You dare call him a liar? Yes, I do. I just did, and I'll do it again. Jesus was a liar. Ask anything? No disclaimer statements? Not even the possibility that he might not answer. He guarantees he will answer. And he says anything. Ask anything, and I will do it. And yet, you ask him for everything, and he does nothing. Why should anybody, just on that basis alone, why should anybody believe in your nonsense? Your ridiculous, tyrannical monstrosity of a God, your beloved little Savior, who hasn't done a damn thing. Supposedly, Jesus died to eradicate the problem of sin 2,000 years ago, and yet the problem of sin has continued on as it ever has. If anything, it got worse, right? Look at what Christianity has done to this world. I've heard people so many times say, oh, well, Christianity has done a lot of great things. Individual Christians, yes, because they're decent people. But the religion as a whole, especially organized Christianity, the Crusades, the Inquisition, are you freaking kidding me? You're going to tell me Christianity has brought good to this world? The sin problem has exponentially magnified because of Christianity. What good did Jesus, the whole Jesus movement across the board, Protestantism and Catholicism, what the hell good has it done for this world? Nothing. As a whole, nothing. Yes, individual Christians who have done good in spite of their Christian religion. But the Christian religion itself? No. Far from bringing about good, it has brought misery, suffering, torture, and death. It has broken up families, just like Jesus said, right? I've come to bring father-in-law against daughter-in-law, mother-in-law against sister-in-law, blah, 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 blah. He said it. Mr. Family Values said it himself. He came to bring division. Think not that I have come to bring peace. I've come to bring division. He also says, don't think I've come to bring peace. I've come to bring a sword. And he's done just that, hasn't he? The sword. All the crusades.
Take back the Holy Land in the name of Jesus. Kill as many Muslims as you can.
Millions of people were tortured and burned at the stake because they didn't bow and acquiesce to the wishes of Almighty Mother Church. Oh yeah, Christianity has done so much good for this world, hasn't it? Well, freaking 3 cheers for the great Jesus. You not only don't know your Bible dupes, you don't know history either. And again, I know I'm going to get comments,
oh, you're so harsh.
You'd better believe I am. I'm pushing back with the same force that they've been pushing us. I'm not talking to the decent Christians out there, okay? Let's make that distinction. But those people, I'm sorry, they're few in number. Collectively, if you step back and look at the whopping bulk of Christianity is nothing but pure, unadulterated hypocrisy, hatefulness, finger-pointing. Get the hell away from me. Those are the kind of people I'm talking about. That's where my anger stems from. I can't stand the bulk of them. Unfortunately, though, even a lot of the decent ones, if you start getting into a conversation with them and you start presenting some of the the problem verses in their not so holy book, sadly, you'll find that some, even among that crowd, they might be sincere in their desire to want the world to become a better place, blah, blah, blah. But you'll see their fangs, horns, and claws come out, and you'll see that they don't have the love that they lip service you with all the time. They don't. Some do, yes, but the bulk of them don't. They really don't. They don't even know what love is. How could they? Look at the example they have set for them here in this wretched, phenomenally disgusting book called the Bible. Anyway, moving on to Psalm 13, verse 1. How long, O Lord? How long will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? This is David crying out to Yahweh in prayer. So again, we saw several passages where Yahweh says, I will turn my face away from you. And now we see his own fan club expressing sorrow and distress over the fact that, yeah, he's hiding their face from him. He's hiding his face because either A, he doesn't exist, or B, he does exist and doesn't give a crap because he's not loving. He would rather sit back and be entertained by watching you suffer. That's what he's into.
I will mock at your calamities.
Yeah, Mr. Love. I guess to some degree I have to admit Yahweh is loving. But you know what he loves? He loves torture, misery, suffering, and death. He has an unfailing love for those things. No question about it. You won't get any argument from me there. Yahweh is overflowing with that kind of love. Psalm 44:24. Why do you hide your face and forget our afflictions and our oppression? There you go, right from the Holy Book itself. An acknowledgement that Yahweh is a delinquent daddy. He doesn't care. Again, either he doesn't exist, and I hope you do know he doesn't exist. He was just invented by some sick, twisted minds. But nevertheless, if you want to insist he exists, okay, fine. Well, what good is he when you can cry out to him, to the embodiment of love and compassion, and he does nothing? Think about that for a minute. Suppose you're a parent, or if you are a parent, imagine one of your kids is about to get into a car accident, and you're God, you're all-powerful, and you know the car accident is going to happen because you know the future, right? But what are you going to do? You're going to sit back and watch that car accident unfold? You're going to see your beloved son or daughter go flying through the windshield and witness their head crash into a telephone pole and watch their skull splinter into a million pieces, blood and skull fragments and brain fragments splattering all over the place? You're going to sit back, having all power and all love, and watch that play out and do nothing about it. You're going to watch women get raped, kids get raped, people get robbed, having their houses cleaned out by robbers and thieves, having the international bankers rip off whole countries and drive whole countries into poverty, living in desperation so that a few scoundrelous bankers can walk away holding all the booty. And Yahweh, having all power and all love, supposedly, able to stop this, and yet sits back and does nothing. They arrest people for that, don't they? You are considered complicit in a crime if you were present and either did nothing or worse, actually assisted. Maybe out of fear, you didn't want the guy to kill you, so, oh, you ran out of bullets, here, take my gun, just don't hurt me, well, if you had a gun, hopefully you'd shoot him, but you know what I'm saying. If in some way you were assisting the guy, because you were afraid of, for your own life, Yahweh assists crime, doesn't he? He not only doesn't intervene to stop crime, but when you look in the Bible, he assisted with it. He encouraged war, assisted in war, and I love how he assists too, like the story where he told Moses to raise your hands up toward the heavens, and as long as he held his hands up, the Israelites would be victorious. But the minute poor old Moses' hands got tired and he lowered his arms, the Israelites suddenly now, started suffering losses. And so Aaron had to come over and help Moses hold up his hand so the Israelites could be victorious. So that's the little game Mr. Yahweh likes to play. That's in your holy book too, Bible dupes. Did you know that was in there? You're God. You're a psychopath God who loves to sit back and be entertained watching people die and then watching an old man suffer because his hands are tied and can't keep him raised anymore. Well, that's not my problem, Israel. Moses couldn't keep his hands raised. I don't care that he's a frail old man. Screw you. You're out of luck. I'm going to sit back now and watch you suffer for a change. Whereas as long as Moses' hands previously were raised in the air, I gave you the victory. Raging freaking psychopath. Can Yahweh intervene? According to the Bible, yes. We saw in that story that he supposedly intervened, right? He intervened to give victory to Israel as long as the old man was able to hold his arm in the air and didn't get tired. But then he sat back on his fat little fanny, chomping on his butter-laden popcorn, and watched the Israelites lose because the poor old man got tired hands and couldn't hold them up anymore. You have got to be kidding me. Are you embarrassed yet, Bible dupes? You'd better be. Because, again, if you're not, that means you're a psychopath, too. If you still love Mr. Yahweh and his little holy book and the religions that have been spawned from it, you're a psychopath, too. Welcome to the Psychopath Club, founded by Mr. Yahweh himself. Stay the hell away from me, baby. Stay the hell away from me. Anyway, Psalm 10, verse 1. You know what? I don't even need to read the rest of these. You already get the point. Psalm 10, verse 1 is another example. David crying out, "Where are you?" Job 13:24. Job got into the act. He got disgusted. "Where's this God? He's abandoned us." Yep. Yahweh in the Bible not only ignores sinners and refuses to answer the prayers of sinners that he doesn't like, he often doesn't even answer the prayers of his own people, even when they beg and plead earnestly with him and haven't been guilty of committing the ultimate sin of idolatry. He still ignores them on occasion, depending on the mood he's in, depending on whether Mars is lined up with Sagittarius, depending on whether the coin he flipped lands on either heads or tails. Unreal, man. Paul says that too, doesn't he, Bible dupes? Paul says that God, how does he put it now? Basically God does what he wants. Oh, God shows mercy to whom he will show mercy. He will have mercy upon whom he chooses. In other words, he can just, flip a coin. I decided today I'm going to have mercy on you, but tomorrow, you're out of luck, baby. Maybe the next day I'll have mercy again, but enjoy my mercy now while it lasts, because I'm not going to share it with you tomorrow. He will have mercy upon whom he will have mercy. And he says that in the context of talking about how he loved Jacob but hated Esau. Well, there's a perfect example of Yahweh arbitrarily choosing who he will have mercy upon, right? Because it turns out that in that story, Esau was the good guy. Jacob was the scoundrel who lied to his father and tricked him out of his brother's inheritance, Jacob was the scoundrel, and yet Yahweh, because he chooses whom he will have mercy, Yahweh chose the bad guy to favor and chose to hate Esau, the good guy. Oh, again, 3 cheers for Yahweh. Oh, your God is looking so good right now, Bible dupes. And once again, he's really passing this love test of Paul in 1 Corinthians 13 with flying, flipping colors, isn't he? All right, guys. Well, you know what? I was going to stop there, but I just got a few more passages, so I'll finish up with these, and then, I'll wait for the next video for what follows. In spite of all of these admissions that, Yahweh will turn his back, he won't always be there, he's going to abandon, and then we see many of his people crying out on occasions like that.
Where are you, God?
Not just when they were
Guilty of some heinous sin.
David, in the peak of his
Great relationship with Yahweh, when Yahweh was calling him his friend,
right? There were even times where Yahweh wouldn't answer David, and David was perplexed over it.
Where are you? Why do you not hear me?
Anyway, in spite of all these admissions, both from Yahweh and his followers, that this delinquent deity, this delinquent dad in the sky, forsakes and hides from his people. Notice these lying promises made by Mr. Yahweh. I'm glad I didn't close the video when I did, because, I forgot that this is very important. This is a great way to end this particular presentation. Jeremiah 33, verse 3 says, "Call to me, and I, Yahweh, will answer you." Can you believe the audacity of this lying fraud artist? Call to me, and I will answer you. And yet we have just seen multiple examples of passages where Yahweh himself not only said,
I will not hear them, though they cry out earnestly to me.
We just read where David, Job, et al. Were perplexed that Yahweh wasn't, Isaiah, were perplexed that Yahweh wasn't answering them, even though they were not sinners indulging in idolatry at the time, right? They were loyal and faithful to Yahweh, and still he wasn't answering them.
Call to me, and I will answer you.
Jeremiah 33, verse 3. BS, baby. Here's another example of Yahweh lying. In fact, he lied so much, you gotta wonder if he ever even told the truth about anything. Deuteronomy 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, your enemies of Israel. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And yet we just read where Yahweh himself said, I will leave you, I will forsake you, nothing will hold me back from unleashing destruction upon you. I will show no pity, I will not allow any mercy. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Again, Deuteronomy 31:6. Is Yahweh a liar? Oh, by the testimony of his own word, he absolutely is. Is Yahweh loving? By the testimony of his own word, no, he is not. David, as we just saw, was particularly outspoken about Yahweh hiding his face. But he also confusingly wrote this, Psalm 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is always found in times of trouble. We just read numerous passages from David where he's crying out, where are you? Why have you forsaken us? You have abandoned us. And yet here he says that Yahweh is always found in times of trouble. Unfrickin' real, man. This is the same guy who wrote, again, as we saw a moment ago, Psalm 10, verse 1, why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide yourself in time of trouble? That's so freaking good. I got to read them both again, back to back. Here they are. Are you ready? Take notes. Write these down. Look them up yourself. Psalm 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is always found in times of trouble. Psalm 10, verse 1. Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? This book is a comedy collection, isn't it? What a sick joke. It's a joke, all right, but it's a sick joke. And there's a lot of sick people out there who fall for it, who need help. Not all of them are worthy of that help, though. But do try anyway. You'll find out the ones that are worthy of it or not. It won't take you too long. The ones who are worthy, persevere. Be patient. It won't happen overnight. It does take time. But it will eventually happen if they truly are sincere and decent people. Because no sincere, decent person could ever indefinitely cling to this, especially when they're shown it for what it really is. Anyway, before I end off, I just can't resist the temptation to cite those two passages again. Psalm 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is always found in times of trouble. Psalm 10, verse 1. Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? Yes. A schizophrenic book with a schizophrenic message. Because it has a schizophrenic God. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this lovely little Bible study. Lots more to come in the next video. We'll catch you then, folks. Take care.